Hi, this is Renee with the tithinghoax.com. Let's talk about what the church doesn't want you to talk about today on the Tithing Hoax podcast. Stay tuned for this week's message. Speak your way to riches. Blab it and grab it. Name it and claim it. Now, these are common sayings, even teachings that are heard in the prosperity gospel circles, in the word of faith movement, and even in many denominations in Christianity. You may hear decree and declare over your finances, over your health, over your relationships, whatever it is in your life you're seeking to improve upon, and you're seeking blessings or breakthroughs. There are teachings within Christianity that say you can speak over your situation. You can speak words of faith, in faith, over your situation, over your circumstances, over your finances, your relationships, your children. If you speak what it is you want to have happen in your life, and you believe in what you're saying, and you have faith in what you're saying, then what you say will happen. It will manifest. Now, the question is this true? Is it true? Is this accurate? Are these sound teachings and sound doctrine? And the question, or the answer to that question, is yes. It's sound doctrine. And I'll go beyond saying it's sound doctrine. The bottom line is that these are spiritual principles that have existed since the beginning of time. The spiritual principle of faith. The spiritual principle of speaking words, because words are powerful. Your words help create your reality. In Proverbs 18:21, it says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they who indulge in it shall eat the fruit of it." What you speak can manifest. When you believe or you have faith in what you speak, decree, or declare, it can and will manifest. Now, as I said earlier, the Word of Faith movement and the prosperity gospel theology is well known for this type of teaching about speaking words of faith. Speak it, name it, claim it, grab it, blab it is yours. Now, while these principles are true and accurate, I do have a critique of the prosperity gospel and word of faith movement, and as well as other denominations who teach these type of principles. My critique is that they often lack practicality. They often lack practicality. They often teach the spiritual principles, but don't offer the Christian believer a practical application of those principles. And so when you have spiritual principles that are not grounded in practical application, what you end up with is what I call super spiritualism. And the super spiritualism occurs when there is a lack of balance in the teaching, where you have the spiritual principles You give the people the spiritual principles. You tell them to have faith and speak over your situation, and bam, it's yours. But you don't have the practical side of it. And I'm going to get more into what I'm talking about when I talk about the practical side of applying spiritual principles, and why it's so important to have that balance between the spiritual and the practical. Because when you don't have that balance, when you get into super spiritualism, it's kind of like this. That saying, don't be so heaven bound that you're no earthly good, that you don't operate and function in this natural realm using, dare I say, common sense. There is a place for common sense. I always say common sense is the first cousin of wisdom. So common sense is a good thing. On the tithinghoax.com website, we have a video that features a young lady who attended a mega church in Atlanta. And this particular mega church is a word of faith church, and the church teaches the prosperity gospel. So she was attending this church, and she was like gung-ho, full-fledged, deep into this prosperity, the gospel message and this word of faith message, to the point to where she was giving all of her money, what the church calls tithes. She was giving all of her tithes or her money to this church, while speaking, decreeing, and declaring words of faith over her life, over her situation, over her circumstances. Now, she was tithing in faith and tithing and believing for various breakthroughs and miracles and so forth and so on. And she did this consistently. And she ended up broke. She got behind in her rent. And her situation became so dire to the point where she didn't even have food in her refrigerator. She didn't have food. And she was so caught up in this whole prosperity gospel that, and this, what I call super spiritualism, is that she would go to the grocery store and decree over groceries. She would claim groceries in the name of God and speak over the groceries, that these groceries would magically and show up in her refrigerator. Now, she's going to decree over the groceries because she doesn't have the money to buy the groceries, because she's been giving all her money to the church, who's telling her to keep tithing, and keep tithing in faith. If you keep tithing in faith, then God's going to bless you with this, that, and the other. And she virtually ended up broke, nearly homeless, and out of food. That's an example of super spiritualism run amok. That's an example of being out of balance. When you don't apply, when you practice spiritual principles, but your practicing of these spiritual principles are not grounded in practicality. It was not practical for her to give all of her money to this church, yet get behind in her rent, give all the money to the church and not take that money to buy groceries, not take that money to pay her rent. That's not practical. That's not common sense. That's not balanced. In our book, The Tithing Hoax, we have a chapter that deals with the thin line between faith and foolishness. Faith is wonderful. Faith is a powerful spiritual principle, but there is a thin line between faith and foolishness. And you get into foolishness when your faith is misguided or manipulated, or you are abusing your faith, or you allow someone to abuse your faith. You get yourself into some foolish situations or some dire situations. And there are a lot of stories like this young lady. There are a lot of Christians who have experienced what this young lady experienced, and this is real. Now, when I talk about the need to have a practical application of the spiritual principles, I'm talking about your actions. I'm talking about changing your behavior. And that is a missing element. Based on the teachings I've heard from the prosperity gospel, word of faith type teachings, that's the missing element. I hear all about the principles of the power of the spoken word and faith, but I do not hear much about how important it is and how necessary and essential it is to change your behavior. You have to have practical actions to go with your faith and to go with the words you speak. When you want to improve your finances, improve your health, improve your relationships, you're going to have to change your behavior. You need the faith. Yes, you need the positive thoughts. You need to speak the words of faith. You need to speak what it is you want to see manifest in your life, and you need to take the right actions that will produce the results, the blessings, the manifestations, the breakthroughs, whatever it is you want in your life, whatever outcome you're seeking. You got to get your mind right, get your words right, and get your actions right. Back in the day, I had a lot of credit card debt. I had multiple credit cards, and my attitude toward credit cards was, this is free money. That's how I looked at credit cards, as free money. Every week, it seemed like I would go to my mailbox, and there is a free credit cards I didn't even apply for, in my name. Right? So I got into debt, credit card debt, number one, by having multiple credit cards, by spending impulsively, impulse buying, impulse spending, not making a clear distinction between what I want and what I need. Everything I wanted, I saw as a need, so if I wanted it, I went out and got it on my credit cards. I always pay the minimum monthly balance. No, not the balance. I made the minimum monthly payment on my balance. I had no savings. And basically, I was living beyond my means. In other words, I was spending money I did not have. I was spending money that exceeded my income. And because I had these, quote unquote, these credit cards, this free money, it was easy for me to spend money I didn't have. Now, eventually I got out of credit card debt. Now, how did I do that? Did I just have faith that I could get out of it? Did I simply speak words of faith and affirm that I would get out of debt? No. What I did was I changed my behavior. I changed the way I handled my finances. I developed self-discipline when it came to my finances. First of all, I had to make up my mind. I had to get what did I say earlier? Get my mind right. You have to get your mind right. I had to get my mind right. And I decided I did not want to be in credit card debt. I didn't like being in debt. I didn't like owing people all this money. And I wanted to do better financially. So when I got my mind right, guess what? My actions had to get in alignment with my mind, with my thoughts, and what I wanted for my life in terms of my finances. So, what did I do? I settled for one credit card. I didn't need all these different credit cards. One was enough. And even with the one credit card, I only used it when necessary. And, when, some places only take credit. There's instances when, that's all I can use is a credit card. And I used it as a matter of convenience. I didn't use it because I didn't have the money. I would use the credit card, for instance, if I had a big purchase and I didn't want to carry a large amount of money on me. So that's when I would use the credit card to make a big purchase. And then when the bill comes, what did I do? Did I make the minimum monthly payment? No, I paid it off in full. So I wouldn't carry that balance over to the next billing cycle. I stopped buying on impulse. I made the distinction between what I want and what I needed. Necessities always took priority. Get what I need. It's not that I never got what I wanted, but I made a point to focus on what I need first and foremost. Take care of the necessities first. And knowing the difference between a want and a need. And I started saving money. I saved money. I took money out of each paycheck, put it aside. Here's one rule for good financial stewardship: pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. When you get your check, put money aside for your savings. Save money for, have an emergency stash. Things happen. Have money set aside for that. And also, when it came to saving money, I would, if there was something I wanted, and sometimes even some things I needed, I had conquered or overcame that need for instant gratification, because that's what fuels a lot of impulse buying, that instant gratification. I got to have it now. So once I overcame that, I said, well, if there's something I want or need, I will save the money for that thing. Whatever it is, I'll put money aside until I have enough to buy it and purchase what I wanted or needed in cash without having to use a credit card. So I got my mind right, and I had the right actions to produce the results that I wanted. And what I wanted was to get out of credit card debt. The Bible tells us faith without works is what? Let's say that again. Faith without works is what? Okay, exactly. Dead. You got to put in the work. Now, like I said, one of the issues I have with the prosperity gospel teachings is that they lead you to believe that the only work that you put in with your faith is keep paying your tithes. Pay your tithes and you'll get out of debt. Pay your tithes and you'll get rich. Keep paying your tithes in faith. But that ain't it. Because if you are mismanaging your finances, if you're living beyond your means, if you don't have any financial self-discipline, if you don't know what good financial stewardship consists of, in other words, if you're not changing the behaviors that got you into debt in the first place, I don't care how much tithes you pay in faith, that is not going to change your situation, because what you're looking for God to bless your mess instead of cleaning up your mess. And so that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the practical side of these spiritual principles. You got to put in the work. You got to take actions to clean up your mess. You got to go through the process. There's this false belief that, God is going to do everything for us. And that there's nothing that we're to do on our end. Like there's nothing that we're supposed to do. We just want to turn everything over to God. and let God do all the heavy lifting and do all the work. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to bust your religious bubble. And here's another saying: heaven helps those who help themselves. You got to be willing to help yourself. You got to give God something to work with. I don't care how much faith you have about improving your health and losing weight. I don't care how much you decree or declare over that, your health and losing weight and getting into shape. You can do all of that, but if you don't exercise, you're eating fast food every day, drinking sodas all day, you have all of these bad health habits, but you just want God to just come along and just work magic and just bam, booyah. One day you're just going to wake up and you're going to be healthy, and one day you're just going to wake up and you're going to be, be that size 6 or whatever it is you want. No. Boo-boo, you got to do some work. You have to add the practical side to your spiritual principles. Faith without works is dead. I don't care how much tithes you pay. That is not going to give you your breakthrough for your health, for your weight. No, you got to do the work. You got to change your habits. You got to change your actions. You got to start exercising. You got to stop eating so much fast food and eat healthier foods, more fruits, more vegetables. You got to lay off the sodas, boo-boo. Cut back on it. You got to drink more juice, fresh juices, more water. Come on now. Your actions must line up with what you say you want. Get your mind right. Get your words right. Get your actions right, and you will produce right results. Certainly, there are instances, and I've experienced this myself, where I've just asked God for something and it manifested. Ask and it shall be given. That does happen. Where I didn't have to work. I just asked for it and bam, there it was. But that's not going to happen all the time. In fact, I think that's more of the exception and not the rule. The rule of thumb, baby, you're going to have to work. You have to add works, actions, the right actions to your faith and to the words you speak of your situation. If you want the blessing, if you want the results, if you want the breakthroughs. So, words are powerful. Words help create our circumstances, help create our reality. Watch what you speak. Words are very important. Words are powerful. Faith is powerful. Believing in your spirit, mind, heart, and soul, what you speak, yes, it can manifest. These are ancient spiritual principles. But keep in mind that in most cases, changing your situation requires that you change your behavior, your habits, your actions, your works. You have to add the works to your faith and works to your words. And in doing so, that brings about a balance between the spiritual and the practical. You got to have that balance. And with that balance, you can avoid super spiritualism. You can avoid the kind of situations like that young sister who tithed all of her money and got behind in her rent and didn't have food to eat. That doesn't have to happen. And so that's something to look out for. So it's absolutely fine to teach about having faith and speaking of your situation. But if you have go to a church or you are participating in a ministry, it's not going to tell you about putting the right actions to that faith and those works, and I mean to your words. Well, hey, maybe you need to find another ministry, another church, because that's just super spiritualism, and it's not balanced teaching. So, spirituality plus practicality will manifest the results that you want in your life. Renee here. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Tithing Hoax podcast. For more information about the Tithing Hoax, visit thetithinghoax.com, download your free tithe study guide, or drop us an email at info@thetithinghoax.com. Until next time, peace and blessings.